And we are live. The latest news. Tonight, Rob Piggins is back. I got a couple questions for him. Shout out to everybody tuning in on gun channels, over on YouTube and on Facebook. Thanks to our sponsors, L2Dcombat.com, Keybar.us. Got all kinds of fun stuff to talk about tonight. Ross, we got it in early, got that political stuff out of the way.
Yeah, we sure did. I feel like I got a whole load off of my back there.
Yeah, you did. Well, it's been building. It's crazy time in the United States, so we're not going to talk politics tonight. What's up, Casey?
What's up, fellas?
What did you got a new phone. You didn't get a new gun this week.
I did not get a new gun this week.
All right, fair enough. Rob, what's going on, brother? How you been?
Good, man. I'm out at Personal Defense Network headquarters in Minneapolis. I just got done with 6 days in the hunting field. It's the longest vacation I've taken without a woman in like a decade, I think. So I spent 6 days in the woods with some PDN partners and some friends hunting. It was great. And back to work today. And I looked up and it's Thursday. And I thought, man, this is the first free Thursday night I've had forever. I'm joining the Gun News Weekly crew.
Dude, we appreciate it. We appreciate it as always. And you've been busy with other things, including getting to review The Saint, which we'll talk about later in the show.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're around for the whole show or not.
3 months with that, so we can talk about that. I just got back from NASGW. I don't know if you guys got to go to NASGW. So, you know, the new Remington was there, the new Walther's there. Of course, I had the PD-10 there, the first production mold. So there's a lot going on in new gun world for sure.
Yep, lots to talk about. All right, I'm having some laggy stuff going on my computer for some reason as well. So give me a second. Don't know what the problem is, but I'm stuck on Rob. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
Yep, I can hear you too.
It's kind of choppy, but
stand by for 1 second. I don't know what. I got some resources for some reason getting pulled.
You're not uploading those videos you mentioned earlier, are you?
And we talked about the politics earlier. Come on, YouTube. We talked about the politics earlier. We didn't get shut down then. We're talking guns now.
Hillary's trying to shut the feed down.
Honestly.
I'm sure it's happened to us twice.
I'm just getting rid of some of these background processes that are jumping up on the computer for some crazy reason. And I don't know why. I'll have to get give of them. Lots of stories to talk about tonight, including this Pizza Hut story. I don't know if this is going to work, guys. Honestly, I'm really getting locked up here. Give me 1 second. Maybe I'll shut it. I am coming across clear, but I can't activate anything on my screens.
Probably an update. They always come through at the best times.
Time to buy one of those new sexy MacBook Pros.
No, don't do it.
Honestly, I have no idea. Let me shut off the Facebook feed. Maybe it's pulling from there, and that's part of the reason. But
don't do it, Rob. Ross? What's wrong with you, man? MacBooks are awesome.
No, I know. I'm actually on a Mac, so I
look at Rob.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Hold on. Maybe if I shut it down, just come right back on. Let me try that. I'm going to disappear for 1 second, guys.
Oh, no. This is a recipe for disaster.
The only thing that sucks is the new Mac.
Usually this happens.
All right, then hold on. Then I'll hold on, Ross. I'll hold on and do it the slow way. And if you guys want to just talk amongst yourselves. But our first story is about the guy that went into a Pizza Hut and with two other dudes with guns.
Yeah.
And they decided to rob the place.
Yeah.
And as a result, hold on 1 second. Maybe I can go backwards with this. Here we go.
I mean, how much money could you really get from a Pizza Hut?
Dude, the guy behind, so the whole story here is the guy behind the counter shot one of the three dead. It was three of them, I believe. And then there's actually a video that Kevin was going to share about the mom, like blaming Pizza Hut. Of course, you know, you got to see the video.
The mom of one of the robbers?
The one that got shot dead.
And killed.
Oh,
yeah.
God, my poor son.
Yeah.
Oh, and he wasn't dangerous, but he robbed the place with a gun, which actually brought us to the question in the pre-show of, I mean, dude, if someone at the counter is robbing you with a gun, I think you are probably fearing for your life unless you knew the guy intimately or, was part of the setup or something. Is the entitlement that I see, and of course we didn't get to watch the video, but if you watch the video, you would have felt this almost entitlement out of the mother, which
All
I
right,
understand.
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here. I don't know if it's going to work. It looks like I'm showing up multiple times, but can you hear me? Thumbs up, Ross.
Yeah.
Everybody cool. Okay, all right. Okay. Long story short, the guy shows up with his buddies. They try to rob this place. He gets shot and killed. And here's the news report. Let's see.
And it's the one with the gun that got shot and killed.
He was found with a gun for sure. So he definitely went in and was trying to do nefarious things. And again, everybody was at risk that was in there, is my opinion. Of course, now it's not going to. There we go. There's our video.
There we go.
Mother beside herself after a Pizza Hut employee shot and killed her son. Police say 28-year-old Michael Grace was there to rob the restaurant. His mother knows that. She admits he was up to no good. But tonight, she wants to know why that employee took matters into his own hands, killing her son. WBTV's Alex Giles is live and on your side investigating. Alex.
Molly, this family definitely has more questions than answers right now, and I do want to be clear. The family does know he was trying to rob this place. They know that was wrong. But did he deserve to die at the hands of a Pizza Hut employee, no less?
What is the policy about employees having guns on the premises?
It's just one of the many questions Tamia Hairston has for Pizza Hut and the CMPD. Her son, Michael Grace Jr., was trying to rob this Pizza Hut. Inside, he was shot by a Pizza Hut employee who fired their own gun.
Was he a security guard? Was he back there cooking dough? Was he back there throwing pieces in the oven? What was his position? Why did he have a gun on the premises?
The parents know what their son did was wrong. They don't approve of the robbery. They say their son was down on his luck and needed to support his own child.
It was an act of desperation, but I do not believe that Michael would have hurt anyone.
Police say Grace Jr. was carrying a gun when he was shot. No one else was hurt. Pizza Hut says the employee involved in the shooting has been placed on a leave of absence following further review. Michael's parents say the story doesn't end here. They claim their son recently worked at this very Pizza Hut and had issues with other employees. They think his killing may have been personal.
Now, that is conjecture because later in this story they claim that has not been proven. So let's just keep that with a grain of salt. This part.
A body shot. This was a head shot. My son was shot in the left side of his head, just behind his ear. A headshot is personal.
Now these parents say they want the exact employee.
All right, so a couple things to talk about, obviously, and I know all of you are fuming to get at this one. It doesn't matter what he was doing in the back, whether he was flipping dough or whatever. If you're in a situation where something presents itself and you have to defend yourself, obviously we are all on this panel are going to say the guy did what he needed to do. Was it against store policy? They don't really say. They say Pizza Hut hasn't responded. They say they put him on leave. And then
it's not Pizza Hut's decision. And honestly, I'd like to get Rob's opinion on this, just from personal defense and training and all of that. What do you think about this story, Rob?
I think it's irresponsible journalism to ask the questions and give credence to the concept that somehow the person that was wrong here is the Pizza Hut Corporation for allowing this guy to be in a position to defend himself. It's ludicrous. That being said, moving back to kind of your question, without seeing a video, without some corroborating physical evidence and maybe a couple eyewitnesses and saying here's what was going on, it's really hard to talk about whether or not the guy needed to be shot, whether it was appropriate, all that, right? But let's just say, give the guy the benefit of the doubt who was doing his job and was supposed to be there, and don't give the benefit of the doubt to the guy that went in to rob the place with a gun, right? So without any further evidence, we have to assume that, yeah, he felt like this guy was potentially going to hurt him, and especially if the guy left on bad terms, and we talk about active shooters, workplace violence, how personal is it that you went back to the place that you worked and threatened your former fellow employees with a gun to get money? That sounds personal, right? So they may have had every reason to believe that this guy would use the gun. They recognized the guy came back to steal and potentially hurt people. I don't see anything worth questioning here except why that news station would run that as a legitimate complaint and concern.
Don't you think they immediately go to what's the policy of the actual place, and did he violate the policy of Pizza Hut and or whatever the general corporate policy is?
Yeah, I get journalism is you report the fact that the parents are asking the question, and then Pizza Hut has put the guy on leave, and you move on. You don't let her talk for 6 minutes of the story. Let's talk about robberies. Let's talk about the policy of concealed carry permit issuance. Let's talk about whether or not the guy had a concealed carry permit, maybe. But what we don't need to talk about for 6 minutes of an 8-minute segment is the family acting like something was wrong on Pizza Hut's side.
And the mother, again, any mother is going to say something as easy as, I don't think he was going to hurt anybody. That's not in his nature. Lady, he woke up that morning, grabbed a gun, got his buddies, and went in and said, give us the money or we'll shoot you. That's what you're saying when you pull a gun on someone and demand, when you rob somebody. That's what you're telling them.
Yeah, he was so quiet. I never thought he'd hurt anybody.
Right.
Yeah, and then you bring in the whole active shooter climate these days. That's a hell of a perspective too, and especially disgruntled employees. If he got fired on bad terms, that would almost make a heightened sense of awareness if the guy came in the store.
Absolutely.
But again, I appreciate the perspective that we don't have any corroborating video or eyewitness reports or anything. We are looking at a few lidded articles. So. Great perspective, Rob. I appreciate that.
There's a little bit of follow-up stories on a couple other stories we've been following here, including this suspect who's in custody. This is a new story. The suspect's in custody after the ambush killings of 2 officers in Iowa. I'm sure you heard about this week. These are these stories that come across the line, and they're just senseless. Guy walked up to 2 different unsuspecting police officers and shot him on the spot and put him out. They did catch him, and he is, again, being charged as we speak. He does have a very checkered past, and there's a lot of people and a lot of warning signs and a lot of stuff that I think people are going to now second and third guess because of the details of what happened. But he was a dude that was not happy and was not scared to tell people he wasn't happy. If you want the whole story, suspect in Iowa cop killings had history of mental illness, run-ins with the police. They haven't got the exact motive yet, but records show that the man accused of fatally shooting 2 police officers in Des Moines Wednesday morning was well known to local authorities and had a history of mental illness.
I just can't fathom that this has become a thing. You know what I mean? Either it was not reported before, or where are we at that going out and ambushing cops is like a thing. I mean, in the last 2 years, I've seen more of that than I've ever seen previously. Anybody asking that question?
No.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Why? How did that happen?
Well, I think that when journalism comes down to questioning Pizza Hut's policy on whether or not an employee can defend himself from an armed robber, and that's the story, that's what they lead with, is there are a lot of unanswered questions, not that an armed robber was killed by an employee defending himself and the other people in that business. That's the lead of that story, right? Not there are a lot of unanswered questions. When we start empowering these misguided, potentially well-intentioned, and you feel for the family and they lost their son and you understand they're grasping at straws. But when we start empowering these oddball perspectives, including, I don't respect law enforcement, I don't respect our country, I don't respect our flag. You look at people that are frustrated with the election cycle. I'm frustrated with the election cycle. I don't see a candidate that I'm excited about voting for next week, right? But I'm going to fly down to Florida tomorrow and I'm going to vote next week. I'm going to do my thing, but I'm not excited to cast a vote for any of these people as the potential leader of our country, right? So when people start disrespecting the system and we start seeing a breakdown of the system where the system doesn't garner respect, then you see things like this. And then when the journalists empower the question, well, maybe it's reasonable, because the background on this guy, his most recent run-in with the cops, he was waving a Confederate flag at black families and students during his daughter's high school football game, or I believe it's a football game, but a sports event at the high school his daughter goes to. And he was arrested for trespassing. He was escorted off the property by police officers in the suburb of Des Moines. He killed one of the officers in the parking lot of the high school, or right by the high school, and then drove to another location and killed a Des Moines officer, and then went to a third location and turned himself in. He flagged down a non-law enforcement person and said, "Hey, call 911. I'm this person." And when he was taken into custody, he complained about some kind of a flare-up of a medical condition or some such. And I haven't looked into it because, like I said, I've been out in the hunting field, so I don't have all the details.
It gets even weirder, Rob. It gets even weirder. Just last week, according to sources, Green apparently was involved in the thwarting of a burglary at a local music shop. He was out walking his dog early in the morning, noticed someone in the shop who didn't belong there. The police are called, and in fact, one of the responding officers was Justin Martin, whom he killed Wednesday morning. Oh, there's no indication that he was specifically targeted. This is just a week ago, he was involved with, hey, hold on, there's something wrong here. Let me call the cops. Calls the cops. Cops show up. He's the hero. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, the guy has had a lot of interaction with police, and I think that's where they're saying there's this mental illness aspect of sometimes he's a good guy, sometimes he's the bad guy. And, you know, the neighbors were talking about how he got divorced and he's been estranged from his kids and all this other stuff. So once again, you know, same thing we heard in the other news story, right? Well, these things don't excuse this kind of behavior. You know, the guy was trying to feed his kids. Well, sell your gun at the pawn shop, buddy. Don't use your gun to rob the Pizza Hut. And then like somebody said earlier, how much money are you really going to get from the Pizza Hut when you split it 3 ways anyway? Just how about selling the gun you have and get some money for food and go get a job?
God, that's a fantastic point. There's $400 in your pocket. You won't get that from Pizza Hut on a Thursday night.
Not split 3 ways.
True. Well, it'll be interesting to see where it ends up. Obviously, they're going to put this guy through the ringer in the system, and as well he should. You just don't do these things. I mean, it's deplorable, like you said, Ross. Speaking of the Oklahoma manhunt, that as of last week was still active when we got off the air, ended in a shootout, and the suspect was indeed killed. It was a week-long manhunt in Oklahoma. It ended on Sunday after police shot and killed a man suspected of killing 2 people, shooting 2 officers, and at least 2 others in a string of carjackings. 38-year-old Michael V. I'll just do that near Leedy, Oklahoma, after a half-hour chase and exchange of gunfire. U.S. Marshal Service spokesman Dave Turk says Vance shot and wounded the officer on Sunday, and the 3rd policeman to be shot by Vance during the weekend manhunt. So as they arrested him, there was one more shooting where a police officer was indeed shot. So he's done. And he was the guy that was on Facebook. He was the guy that was on Facebook that was getting all excited about robbing or jacking the next car, if you remember from last week. On to the next story. 2 intruders shot dead while trying to rob a 73-year-old man in St. Louis. They broke into his garage and tried to rob him at gunpoint. This was another Facebook reported. I don't have that video queued up, but there was a guy that showed from across the street, I believe, the aftermath of that incident. The suspect demanded the homeowners give them his truck, which was parked on a concrete area between the garage and the house. When one of the suspects put a gun to his head and told him to back up, the homeowner pulled his own pistol from his pocket and shot them both. 7 or 8 gunshots were heard, and there was 2 suspects lying on the concrete area. And the guy across the street called the police. They show up and took them down.
Yeah. Quick shout out to Sean in the chat, who this actually happened 8 blocks from his house. But you know, if you're gonna take up the profession of robbing people or stealing from people in a climate where guns are going at epic numbers, you may want to rethink that, because that's kind of the way it's going. Is you're looking at the wrong end of a gun.
73-year-old.
Good for him.
The wherewithal to have his gun on him and protect himself and protect his property, and that's what those laws are in place for. So that when guys come up and put a gun to your head and say, "I'm going to take your life or take your property," at least you have an option.
That's why you carry a gun. I mean, that's kind of textbook, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. This next one is Fresno County Sheriff. Did you hear about this, Rob? The detective shoots and killed a fellow officer in a, I'm going to do a couple air quotes on this one, negligent discharge. This is from guns.com. The Fresno Bee is who's reporting on this. A bullet fired accidentally from a colleague's gun fatally struck in the chest. Bullet fired accidentally from a colleague's gun fatally struck in the chest a sergeant with 20 years in law enforcement, an emotional Fresno County Sheriff Margaret Mims said Tuesday. The deceased 46-year-old is Rod Lucas. He was in a meeting with 3 other officers discussing, ironically enough, firearm safety. Quote, the gun went off as Lucas and 3 colleagues gathered Monday afternoon in a room at a sheriff's special investigation unit near the Yosemite International Airport. Lucas and a colleague, described only as a detective, were discussing safety of backup weapons when the detective's gun went off. Truth About Guns continues in their opinion of this, saying regular readers will recognize the characteristically passive construction of that sentence, the gun went off. As anyone who knows anything about guns, let alone gun safety, can tell you, guns just don't go off. I've got 2 AR-15s behind me. They are loaded. They have safeties on. They're not going to just go off, is the point for anyone that's joined us for the first time. Incident still being investigated. Who knows if there's video? This is one of those things. Negligent discharge, accident, went off, etc. We all know that you have to do certain things to get these modern day weapons to discharge a bullet.
This highlights the fact that accidents happen to the absolute best of us.
Interesting thought. The complacency kills is their take on it. Rob, yours?
If you pull a gun, my guess would be a gun got pulled out of a holster, so someone goes, see, look at this, or hey, what about this? In those circumstances, there were people you shouldn't pull out. We pull guns out all the time. I'm at NESGW last week, guns coming out all the time. I got a PD-10 we're carrying around. Some of them are safety tagged. Obviously, there's inspections. All the guns are supposed to be unloaded, but there's live ammo in that booth because they're selling live ammo, and this guy's carrying a gun, and I have a gun over here, and these guys have guns over there. If the gun comes out, I'm going to hand it to somebody. I'm going to lock it open. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to show it to somebody else, and we're going to do a 2-person check. And my guess is there was no 2-person check in that room. I doubt that 2 police officers out of the ones that were in that room looked at the gun and both made a mistake about whether or not it was loaded. So they either knew it was loaded and did something reckless, or the negligence was somebody thought it was unloaded and clearly it wasn't. Or maybe the negligence was the finger was on the trigger and they pulled the trigger when they didn't think they were going to. Or the worst of the worst, I think, would be they had a safety that they thought was engaged and they were trying to pull a trigger to make a point to say, look, if the safety's engaged, I can pull the trigger and nothing's going to happen. Or like they're touching the edge of a Glock trigger saying, look, if I just pull it here, the trigger block will keep it from going off. Or if it's a double action gun, I can pull it back a little bit, but it's still not going to go off. You know, any of those things, knowing the gun was loaded would just be the kind of thing it should get a guy punched, right? But there are other options that are less nefarious and less recklessly negligent, and usually it comes down to 2-person safety checks. If 2 people check a gun before any demo, these things it's so much harder for this to happen. 2 people have to make the mistake, and to be honest, if you're the guy that pulls the gun out and you're going to show it to somebody and say, hey, verify this is unloaded, you probably put a little bit more pride of detail in making sure it's unloaded before you turn to a colleague and say, can you verify that this is unloaded? And that's the way we describe it. You make sure it's unloaded, then get somebody else to verify that you weren't an idiot and got it wrong.
You know, it's as simple as being anal retentive, for lack of a better word, or what the other one that I don't really like is the safety Nazi moniker. Ross, you've trained with me, you've seen me on the range, you see how I am. It's just you check, you double check, and you triple check, and then you talk about it out loud to make sure that you're verbalizing it so that your head is saying it and you're visualizing it at the same time to definitely know. And even then, I still don't violate the other rules that were violated here. Someone touched a trigger and someone had that gun pointed at another man. Absolutely. In a room. No matter what was going on, those 2 things happened. And again, if you need update, look up 4 safety rules of gun handling or gun ownership on any Google or any search engine. You'll find them real quick. You have to do those 2 things for this guy to get shot, and that's what happened. I hope it wasn't in a case of guys thinking that they knew it just because of their positions, or thinking that, again, I think Rob covered this pretty clearly, but it's shocking, as Ross said. So, and again, our condolences to the family and to the people that had to live through this, that had to be there to deal with this situation. Had to be horrific. Speaking of horrific.
Oh, God.
This one's good. I'll give you the details. This was in Oklahoma. This was the week-long manhunt. I have the video of part of the takedown. And what's interesting about it is the guys, give me 1 second. The guy's skill.
Now, this is the guy that was like live Facebooking.
This is
like,
the
getaway.
This is the takedown of him.
Gotcha.
I'm changing the screen so we don't show those stupid ads at the bottom of the screen. Sorry. Looks like
Boobies.
yeah, exactly. Bellies and All right, so this one is the officer in pursuit. Rob, I don't know if you've ever seen anything like this. I have not. Turn that down a little bit because it's a lot of him chasing, and he's on the left-hand side here. I'm sorry, the right-hand side of the screen. So he's getting shots inbound, and I'm going to fast forward it to about a minute because that's where it gets hot. I'm sorry. A little bit less than that. So now he pulls up his AR. He's got it rested on the steering wheel. He's taking quite a few shots. The other thing about the radio conversation that goes on is they do clarify that everything is clear ahead of them, for the record. So they've got roadblocks set up, et cetera, et cetera.
That cop's driving and shooting.
He's driving and shooting. So he's reloading right now. He's pulling the AR back up. I'd like to find out what kind of optic he has on that, to be honest with you, because this is at nighttime. He's obviously made the decision to shoot through that glass and create a hole.
Oh, shit.
Now he...
Is he going through the windshield?
Yeah. They're returning fire on him now. So the whole video is he engages, they get some ground on him, he catches back up. That was the next engagement that you just saw. But the car is full of smoke now. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
That's something we haven't talked about before. I mean, look at how much.
You were asking. It looked like an. Call me crazy. It looked like an Aim Point Pro. That's what you were asking.
No, he had some sort of. No, yeah.
Just telling you.
All right. Look at the top screen. How much smoke comes out? Because again, that's obviously the view to the driver's left. Watch how much smoke just falls out of that car after. And obviously, you can't even see the guy down below anymore. So that's something that, Rob, I don't know. You've done a lot of, I know, obviously, car training, that kind of types of different vehicle training and that kind of thing. But I've never really seen someone have to deal with that condition of having to keep up, having to be safe as you're driving, and then be on point enough to take enough shots and then have the car fill with smoke so you can't even barely see.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about that. I mean, most agencies nowadays, shooting at a moving vehicle is frowned upon in almost every circumstance. Shooting from a moving vehicle generally doesn't even get seriously discussed for the driver under those kinds of circumstances in a pursuit. So I'm assuming there are several extenuating circumstances where they, I mean, think about how far ahead the road has to be cleared, and you know that there's no cross streets or someone taking an on-ramp, or I can't even imagine. I know that was Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty. I mean, there's some open, flat areas in Oklahoma, but
they say that he was shot from a gunshot to his neck.
The bad guy.
The bad guy.
Yeah, but out of 30 plus rounds, how many hit the vehicle? And again, I'd love to see the map, like the aerial view map of what area that driver knew was clear when he started launching rounds at that rate of speed. And that looked like a magnified glass optic to me, not one that he would really be using very effectively, probably while driving through glass in a smoke-filled car at night, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sort of I hadn't seen that video. Like I said, I've been out in the field the last 5 days. I'm pretty astounded.
Apparently there's a whole helicopter footage of the whole thing with using FLIR night goggles as well.
And maybe that's it. Maybe that's part of that mitigating circumstances. The helicopter's telling him, hey, we can see ahead for a mile. You're this, and then there's a big hill, and then there's a right-hand curve.
Not only that, they're after a guy that they've been chasing for over a week that shot at cops and has killed people. I mean, that's
there's some
manhunt
factor. Circumstances. That's not basic police academy 101 pursuit driving by any stretch.
No, I think so. He'll get some awards probably. Here's good news. Over on guns.com, Wisconsin court dismisses the wrongful death suit against Arms List in the 2012 slaying that they were in trouble with. Hence the hat tonight. I don't know why. I thought you'd be wearing a Cubs hat, by the way, Casey. I'm proud to see you wearing an O's hat.
Well,
go Cal Ripken.
Yeah, it's just
love that.
I think America was rooting for the Cubs, but
it was fun to watch. Again, we'll talk about that later. So anyway, Arms List had a lawsuit brought against them by the victim of a family, and it was backed by the Brady campaign. They had a lot of power behind this thing. It was dismissed in a Milwaukee court, but basically, a woman filed a restraining order against her estranged husband, Mr. Houghton, after he slashed her tires, claiming he posed a threat to her safety. The courts issued a 4-year protective order that, along with previous arrests for domestic violence, barred him from possessing a firearm. However, the order did not stop him from purchasing a handgun, and he went to the girl's workplace and shot 7 people, killing 3, including his wife, and wounding 4 others. He then committed suicide before police could take him into custody. The gun had been sold to the guy in a private sale by a guy named Devin Lynn in a McDonald's parking lot in Germantown, Wisconsin, for $500 in a deal arranged through the online firearms classified service Arms List. Well, they sued Arms List, claiming it was their responsibility for what this crazy guy went and did. The Milwaukee court has dismissed it.
Of course they did, Kevin, because the guy who sold the gun to him, the actual guy who sold the gun to him, didn't have any money. So they decided that Arms List should probably have to pay something, right? Because they just gave him the avenue to sell the gun.
They filed suit against them, against Arms List, the owner and operators, and the insurance companies that issued Arms List policies that covered cases involving liability claims. While losing a similar case against Arms List in 2014, the Brady Center, according to guns.com, doubled down with this Wisconsin shooting. It bounced around. There was a September filing for a motion to dismiss the case, arguing that it can't be held liable for the action of the people using the site. And again, the site is not selling guns. The site does not possess the guns. The site is an online classified.
It's not their responsibility to get the background check if it's necessary. It's the seller's responsibility. And that's the way it's always been.
The suit will go after Lynn, the guy that sold it, alone. But there you go.
Yeah. Blood from his own.
For people interested in private sales, I have a video up. If you Google Rob Pincus private gun sale or private gun transfer, kind of my thoughts on it, overview on it, the fallacy of the gun show loophole, and that's what this is. This is the kind of thing that a politician is going to call an online gun sale. It's not an online gun sale. Arms List is like Facebook in this case, just connecting 2 people. And personally, I do take a lot of responsibility if I'm going to private sell a gun and I don't know the person. I want to try to get to know the person, or just go through an FFL, because there is a responsibility that comes with your right to do a private transfer, and I think you have to respect that. But these lawsuits are crazy.
Well, and Rob, being a Coloradoan that we have to do an FFL. We have to go to an FFL and get the background check done on any private sale here in Colorado. And that's the seller's responsibility to do. So, know your laws for sure, but it's certainly not the classified ads' responsibility to cover your costs if someone buys a gun from you. You know, it's just in the same way that a manufacturer isn't responsible for the crazies that get their guns and do the bad things with them. So,
Yep. Quick reset. Just about, oh gosh, we're already after half past the hour. Shout out to Grizzly Targets, Lanzang Tactical. Shout out to those guys. Finally got that barrel out, Ross. Took me a minute. One of our winners. And
right on, man. I'm sure he was looking for that information too. And shout out to Mert out there, man. It's good to see him on the show.
Maybe.
He's out there.
All right, good enough. And make sure you push this out, share it with your friends. This is the show that we try to put out to show people that, again, normal guys can hang out and have these conversations. We're not nuts. We're not hanging out in, tree stands in camo trying to, well, Rob, you kind of just were.
Hey, wait.
I take it back. The stereotypical. Oh, did you? You were bow hunting. I didn't realize that. While you were gone, federal background checks went through the roof again. We've had these conversations on this show many times, but the NICS background check system hit an all-time high again in October, processing 2.3 million checks last month, putting the system just 935,000 behind last year's record of 23.1 million, or almost 2 million checks a month. It's an increase of 18% compared to September. We all know what this is all about without getting political, but it's calculated very quick. Again, they had these numbers available the day after the end of the month, basically.
I have seen so many articles about people not putting off big purchases until after the election so that they can stock up on guns and ammunition. If it goes the wrong way, that's going to be a premium. And, we talked about this in the pre-show, Kevin, and I want to elaborate a little bit on it. If what are gun owners going to do if it goes the wrong way? They're going to sit on what they got. They're gonna hoard it and sit on it and wait for the tide to pass and hope that there's not a door-to-door confiscation, which we all know is impossible, or at least believe it's impossible, but and pray that doesn't happen.
The NICS checks are sticking to this article, these articles that we're covering. The numbers are through the roof for a reason. Anyone that didn't have it or wanted to beef up what they had took care of that business in fear of what's coming. Now, does anything change next Wednesday in terms of your rights? No, not on Wednesday. I think there's enough people out there and there's enough momentum. I've been saying this. Oh, God, I didn't want to get there. If let's say that Hillary loses and goes full force with an anti-gun agenda. Okay, let's just wave that magic wand for a second. Let's just say that happens. My belief is that what Trump has created is a strong enough backlash amongst legal gun owners who believe some of the things that he's pushing. But more importantly, the tie there is the NRA endorsing him, getting their followers behind that mode. I believe they've created a stronger NRA as a result of this election. I think they've created a stronger sense of we need to stand up for our rights amongst normal gun owners. Does that make sense, or to anybody else?
I can't even believe that the NRA ended up being a target. I mean, I understand the theory behind it, but the NRA has never killed anybody. And they act like
you think logically.
Ross, they stopped the politicians from creating common sense gun laws that would stop people from
the common sense gun laws just stop common sense good citizens. That's it. They don't stop criminals.
But do you hear what I'm saying? I think there's some power that's been created here during this election cycle. I think one good thing that might come out of it for gun owners or people that believe in the Second Amendment is that I believe that the Second Amendment has gotten a little bit stronger over the last year, the support for it.
Oh, that's evident in the gun numbers. Evident.
Ruger, here's the next. Again, jump in, Rob, anytime if you have thoughts on these things, because I'm jumping around on people making money and how popular guns are. Ruger was up $40 million in the third quarter.
Just the third quarter?
Yep.
Hmm.
They've earned 502 million in sales this year, up from 398 million last year.
Wow.
Yeah, what else do you need to know? Couple the numbers we just talked about with the dollar amounts that you're talking about, and I mean, it would take an idiot to steer you the other way, thinking that people weren't interested in the Second Amendment or their guns or their ammo.
Correct.
So speaking of guns, there's some new guns on the market that we wanted to talk about, weren't there?
Yes. A couple. I had two more quick one more quick story, two more quick stories from the street, so to speak, and then we can do some tech time and talk about a couple guns.
Yeah. Right.
Gunman dressed as Freddy Krueger opens fire at a Halloween party. Multiple people shot. This was out of San Antonio. One of the party goers pulled out a shotgun and shot 5 people dressed like Freddy Krueger. Unbelievable. He's not associated with gun violence in any way. He's like more of a slasher with his knives, you know. Guy showed up to the party uninvited. Next thing you know, they started shooting people. Don't
It's
have
a shame
on whether they got the guy.
It's a shame. I mean, and you know, you look at that as certainly a senseless act of violence, but that could happen with anything. So
there's no word of the identity on the guy because he was dressed up like Freddy Krueger. Mm-hmm. I mean, this guy walked in with either a short barrel or a long barrel that no one noticed and shot 5 people.
And you know what, dude? On Halloween, you probably wouldn't even think twice about someone who had a gun on him. You know what I mean? You probably would just kind of think it was part of the costume. I don't know. It just seems like an opportunity presented itself, and some crazy bastard took advantage of it.
This story just popped up yesterday, and it's one of those ones where it's like it's like we're beating a drum over the years, Ross. You know, month after month, we keep having these stories where we say, you know, it's your responsibility to be aware of what's going on around you and carry the tools that you need to be able to defend yourself should some shitty things happen. There's a 64-year-old man who was left dead after the knockout game. It's captured on CCTV. We don't need to watch it, but it was in It was outside of Queens, and the guy got sucker punched and was left for dead. And it's unbelievable. The video, if you want to watch it, you can get it over at controversialtimes.com and a couple other places. I don't really want to watch it to begin.
Dude, it's an absolute shame that people are preying on our older generation. And, you know, really, he had no way to defend himself, even if he had the tools. You know what I mean? He'd have had to been on point to even catch the guy coming in on his blind side. It truly should be considered a straight up first degree murder.
I hope they throw the book at the dude. You know what I mean? Like it's inexcusable. It's inexcusable. The fact that someone would do something like that to another human in today's world. It happens all the time around the globe. It happens here in America. It
just sucks, dude. It's that our society's gone that there's a part of society that wants to act that way. You know, you can't have nice things, but for the weakest of us, you know.
Yep. All right, let's talk about guns. Got a few minutes left in the show. I did a few upgrades to this AR pistol from Head Down that I wanted to talk about real quick on the live show, just to shout out MGI. They're the makers of the Hydra. Fantastic multi-caliber gun platform where you switch the magwell, switch the barrel, good to go. Long story short, they also make other parts. One of the parts that I've used in one of my other guns that I added to this is their buffer. It's a buffer rate recoil reducer that actually, if you go to their website and you take a look at some of the information there, I forget what it was, but it's confirmed 1 million rounds on some police department did a test with one of their buffers a while back. I have it in one of my other guns. I've done the test where you do it use a regular buffer, put theirs in, and go back and forth and really feel it on your shoulder. It's just a huge difference.
Is that the one that's supposed to be super quiet too?
It is. It's got 3 titanium. I actually the other video I have is what's inside the MGI, buffer. What's inside a regular buffer versus their buffer. Theirs is they use not titanium, tungsten. Is the metal that they use in there with little springs in between, little buffers. I didn't realize that a regular buffer, a lot of them don't even have springs. They just got little round rubber discs in between the 2 things. The other thing is there's some action on the top of it. There's like a little action on the cone part of the actual buffer. The other thing that I put in here is they have what's known as a D-ring. It's a little $12 part that you put over the spring in the bolt
extractor. Oh yeah,
in the bolt extractor, exactly. It just goes right over that thing, and it helps improve and increases that. So a couple things to talk about there. They're all available at MGI. I've got those videos in the works. They'll be coming out soon. That's the head down AR pistol with the Midwest Industries furniture, from the QD mount to the hand stop and the backup sights. Love that pistol. The other gun that's getting a lot of buzz, and Rob, you were a part of this, and I want to talk about it for a minute. It's known as the Saint. So, Rob, you got to go to this event, correct?
Yeah, so I've been, I don't know, I got read in on that several months ago. Springfield Armory is a Personal Defense Network tour sponsor, and we've been doing the Worlds Collide series with Rob Latham. And I got invited to be part of, the marketing campaign. I've made this comment on social media a couple times. Like, I think that the marketing campaign is going to make more sense as it plays out. Really, we got a few more months for all that hype that they've been doing to sort of play itself out. People are asking questions of what do the girls have to do with that? What's with we call them the Hunger Games outfits. What is all this all about? It's going to play itself out. And I understand, like I said, I'm not an employee of Springfield, but I'm a close friend to the company, I guess, and consult, and they sponsor the tour. They're part of what we do.
Cool. I appreciate your candor. I appreciate your candor. A lot of people are always like, oh, you're paid shill and no, we talk about it, but we always disclose what our relationships are. So I appreciate you being so forward.
Yeah. So I understand why people are saying, wait, it's just an AR, and the thing is, what it is a very, I've shot a lot of them. I've shot a lot of rounds through a couple different versions of it as it worked its way through this final production phase. And more importantly, I've seen a lot of other people at a lot of different skill levels shoot this gun a lot. I've seen a lot of rounds go down range out of it with people in a student position, with glass, with red dots, iron sights. We even did Barrett Kendrick and I, who runs the reality-based training instructor course program under the ICE banner. He and I went out to Vegas as part of an event recently that was talked about in that guns.com article you have up there. And we even put a sim kit in it and used it for some reality-based training. So I've seen the gun used a lot and seen a lot of people use it. I expect it to be one of the highest kind of value ratio guns out there in the AR platform. It comes from a trusted name, Springfield Armory, obviously a trusted and respected name. I expect the gun to be reliable. It comes with some upgrades over what people would consider a base level kind of mil spec gun, and it's available at a low price point. So I think that's what people should be excited about right now. It's the beginning of a line. There's going to be different options. There's going to be different versions. It's going to mature. It's going to play itself out. Obviously, there's some urgency to get the gun ready for this, fourth quarter, the election year, everything else. Get the gun out there. Announce it on All Saints Day. The name the Saint connotes a idea of good and freedom and protection, and this idea, a lot of people have their patron saints, that kind of thing. And that was really the idea, right? Like, defend your legacy, the motto, the hashtag that's going out with all the Saint promotions. I love what they're doing in the long term as it plays out. I understand why people are like, well, we thought it was going to be something revolutionary for all the hype. Like, the hype is about the line and the launch, and it's going to continue to play itself out all the way through.
Is this standalone? Is this a standalone gun, Rob? Is this like a one of a kind? Like, this is the AR, this is the Saint, or is it a line? I understand there's a bigger concept.
Right now it's a gun. There's one version. Here's the model. It's you say it's a base model. It's entry level, but it has the upgraded BCM furniture. It has an upgraded. It's a good trigger, really good trigger for a factory gun. I think people are going to really, when they start getting their hands on it, what I was saying last week at NASGW is, okay, we've got this huge hype that's out there. We've done a bunch of stuff that people will start seeing videos from Personal Defense Network, some stuff from Rob Latham and I, and all the marketing that's obviously come out directly from Springfield, and now all the articles that have launched when the embargo was lifted yesterday or day before. Now we've got the election coming up. These guns, obviously, they're going to get out into people's hands over the next few months. And what people are going to see in early 2017 is they're going to start talking to their neighbors. You're going to start seeing their buddies on Facebook. They're going to see more and more of these guns in classes or in local, at the local range. And people are going to see, hey, this is a really fairly priced, reliable gun from a name that's obviously well established in the industry. And then the line will continue to grow around it. So I understand what all the negative buzz about is on the internet. People are going to be disappointed. That's what I was saying at NASPW last week is with all this buzz, all this hype, and all the speculation, I do think there's going to be a little bit of it's just an AR. And then these guns are going to sell out, and people are going to start shooting them, and then they're going to say, oh, cool, this is a good solid AR at a fair price. Whether you want an entry-level gun that's reliable and works, or you want a gun to use as a base for your build for whatever other thing you want to do to it, putting, all your furniture on it, like you were just saying with your AR pistol, adding things to it, this is going to be a great foundation. So I'm excited to see what happens when people actually get to shoot them. I think people are going to be really pleased with it. What
was the thought on going? It seems to me like and again, this is a question that I have that I don't expect you to have the perfect answer for, but what was the theory on using the front sight post rather than going what everyone else is going with these days with the ability to put whatever kind of optic you want on there without that front sight post?
I think the idea was to give an upgraded, after some aftermarket accessories on what would be considered a base level entry gun. So like a lot of people say, well, is it mil spec? And we all know that mil spec is sort of like a 60-year-old platform, lowest common denominator. And some people put a lot of stock in whether something's mil spec or not. Once you look at this gun, it doesn't have an A2 grip. It's not mil spec, right? You know what I mean? Is this overplayed terminology, I think, in our community by a lot of guys. The guys that really kind of know ARs, they kind of roll their eyes at the mil spec concept. But what I think people expect when they see an AR type rifle is to see that A2 front sight post, to see, certain things when they look at the gun and say, yeah, I've been wanting to get one of those and I trust Springfield, I'm going to pick that one up. And it doesn't look like a race gun. It doesn't look like a competition gun. It doesn't look like it's meant for, a dedicated, designated marksman gun. It really just does look like a typical AR. But when you start looking close and comparing features at price points, people are going to see that this is a good one. Would I rather have a free floated handguard and no A2 front post? Sure, of course. But I'm probably not the guy that's looking at this and saying, I need to get a gun. It's Q4. I don't know what's going to happen after the election, and I don't want to spend over $1,000. How can I get into a gun and a few mags and a sling?
So it's the whole package. It's the whole package. It's a better than average trigger is what I'm reading left and right, and everything.
Really nice,
and obviously, and then the barrel and the bolt can, the bolt group, bolt carrier group is really where everyone else is concerned when it comes to their AR. What's your feeling about the barrels?
Barrel looks good. Everything. Here's the deal. I'm not the guy that wants to shoot an AR at 100 yards and argue over 0.01 of an inch, right? I'm the guy that wants to have a home defense gun or a patrol gun that's going to be reliable. It's going to be the right weight. It's going to be the right length. It's going to have a good feel on the grip, a good feel on the forend. I was really pleasantly surprised. I was skeptical, and I know a lot of you are skeptical on the injection molded key mod plastic, BCM front end, but I love the way it feels. It's slim. We shot a lot of rounds in a very short time period at the event out in Vegas. And I was worried about heat and how hot they were going to get and whether they were going to start going crazy. And I was really impressed with it. So
right on.
I think that the things that I care about, this gun really is set up well. If someone's going to come to me and say, I tell people BCM, Daniel Defense, CMMG, if you want an entry level gun, that's the place. Those are the places I send people to go. And my guess is that in 3 months, I'm also going to be able to say, or go here to the Springfield Armory. And I say that because the guns haven't been out long enough. I know what I've seen and I've been impressed, but I'm not going to, I've got the PD-10 coming out. People ask me, was that your new carry gun? It's not my new carry gun until I get a production gun and shoot a lot of rounds through it. And I'm not going to be recommending it to people until I see a lot of people shoot a lot of rounds through it, because this is life and death. And it's not about who sponsors the tour.
Right. I understand. I think this is you've said it a couple times, but I'm thinking about my own experience as well. My first out of the box AR, I wanted it to be something that could be out of the box and ready to go. And it ended up being the Ruger 5.56C, considerably more money than what we're looking at here with this Saint. But at the same time, again, chrome line barrel, this has a great barrel. That's what I was kind of asking about. Those are the important things to me. And it looks like this is getting it done for under $1,000. Does it come with more than one PMag? I didn't read about that.
No, just what comes with one PMag.
Gotcha.
You know,
Gotcha.
you really can't fault a company for going after a market like that either. I mean, that is a fast growing market. I'm sure they'll make $1 billion in that market.
Oh yeah, they'll do well with it. And think about how many people love Springfield already. Just love
What's the retail supposed to be again?
$8.99.
MSRP is that $8.99. So they'll be streeting at $8 or $8.50. I've seen a bunch of gun shops say they're either selling them for $8.25 or $8.50 this week already. And that's in the pre-election buildup. So that's not somebody saying, oh, it's MSRP $8.99, but the election's next week, so I'm going to sell it for $1,000. They're already, Springfield's made it possible for people to get this gun out there, and they want people to shoot it, and yeah, people could be price gouging next week. I hope we don't see it. I remember, with like cheaper than dirt going crazy after Sandy Hook and all that stuff. I know we're going to see some of that. I'm really proud to see that the MSRP is advertised this week with a brand new gun from a major company at $8.99, and lots of people are posting on social media that they're selling them in their shops for $8.50. Good for them.
Yeah, good deal.
Keep
One more.
it low.
Go ahead.
I just say keep it low. Keep that price low. There's no reason to gouge the new guys. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I had one more product that came across my desk this week, and I looked at it, and I was like, And then I watched it again, and I was like, So I guess I'll let you guys tell me what you think. You might have seen it. I don't know. Oops, I hit the wrong button. At least it wasn't the off button. So many Casey jokes right now. Okay.
What will they think of next?
So, like I said, I sat there and I was trying to figure out the difference between that and just putting your magazine down on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
I watched it a bunch of times and couldn't figure out the difference. Anybody?
I think if you're going to go motocrossing or something like that, that could protect your hand from bushes.
That's what I was thinking. If you're going to go like smash somebody with the bottom of your gun, you don't want to get your hands hurt. So that thing is prongs.
I saw that stock that came out this week that I'm not prepared to show anybody, but it was almost like a Tavor stock on an AR.
It's like the double foam hole thing.
Yeah, I think that.
If you want to carry your lunch with you on your gun, I'm pretty sure that will take care of that sandwich.
I can take
one more
my
promo.
medical kit and sort of put it inside of that area.
Right.
There you go. One more promo, and then we'll get out of here and let everybody get on with their Thursday night. I've been doing some running around, looking through this at different things. This is the new 1x4x24 Black Spider optic. I've got it on the website right now on the banner on the homepage for $2.99. If you use the coupon code SPIDER, I've got it down to the lowest saleable price of $2.59. You won't get it for less. It's awesome. It's illuminated. The dial on the one side gives you all the illumination. Again, it's the pull and click and hear and feel turrets, not the screw off the caps and dial them. It's illuminated. It's got the night vision capability, et cetera, et cetera. I just think it's fantastic so far. It's got all that other stuff. Go check it out. But for that price, for that type of an optic, I think you'll be pretty happy.
I love cheap optics.
Dude, based on the red dot from Black Spider and the success I've had with that and the lack of problems that people have reported back, literally the problems have been like I lost a cap, those types of things.
Gotcha.
Background noise. Casey, what are you watching?
Do what?
What are you watching?
Nothing.
All right, Rob, what do you got?
Hey.
I saw when I get down to Florida tomorrow night. I know over the weekend a buddy of mine's got one of those things, and I was curious about checking out the Black Spider. So I'm glad to see you give it a thumbs up because I know I'm gonna be playing with one this weekend.
Shot it at Big 3 on the spikes and the Pipe Hitters Union guns. Brought it back here. Have shot it on that one as well, and it just I literally put it on a nice QD mount and put it on. Didn't even really have to zero it. It was just on. So
And I
That's
know
all.
a lot of people are going to roll their eyes and say, oh, gee, you know, it's $250. There's no way it's quality, blah, blah, blah. Here's the other thing. How many ARs do you have in the house right now? How many ARs do I have at multiple residences? How many ARs do I have? You aren't going to put a $1,500 optic on every one of your ARs. So you got to find something that's at a better price point. So otherwise, you're that guy at the range with like 4 ARs and one optic that you're trying to let all your friends shoot on it. Don't be that guy. Get some low-priced optics that are decent quality for your training, for your practice, for your friends when you go to the range. Otherwise, if you just have 15 ARs sitting in a safe with no optics, I don't get you.
And there's a lot of good choices out there in that $300.
This would be ideal for something like that. That Saint, to be honest with you. But that's
ideal for anything.
$100 on a gun and then $1,200 on an optic in the AR family. It's not a high-level precision rifle. It's not a hunting rifle. It's not like that.
Right. Yeah. All right, wrapping up. Make sure you check out TacDaddy.com. Make sure you check out EverydayCarryLife.com. Thanks to Frank and everybody that's made this thing possible along the way. Make sure you check out Rob, myself, Ross, taking care of Gun News Weekly on the social media. Rob, where are you next? After coming home to vote.
I'm teaching. So I'm going down to Florida. I'm going to get down there to spend the weekend. I'm going to vote because I'm still a resident of Florida. So I'm voting down there on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, I'm teaching a family firearm safety seminar at my gym in Columbus, Ohio. And then I'll be back out in Colorado teaching in Lakewood, Colorado coming up this week. I think we're doing an active shooter instructor development course and a couple other things out there. It's the holiday season, so I'll be hanging close to the homes in Colorado and Florida for the most part. I do have a week of training coming up at Ancient City Shooting Range in St. Augustine, Florida, December 6th through 10th. 5 single-day classes, so people can pick and choose, take the whole week, whatever. But I'll spend a lot of time in Colorado and Florida over the next couple months.
And the new gun from Avidity is coming.
Yeah, Avidity Arms. So we have we're finally pressing real guns out of the mold. So real frames out of the mold instead of our prototype frames. So I'll be shooting one of those, 2 of those actually this weekend. Had them at NESGW a couple weeks ago or a week and a half ago. Now I'll be shooting them for the first time. Now our engineers have been working through a bunch of tests with them, so I'm expecting this weekend to be great. And we can taste those production guns coming off the line, and then we'll start that testing process. And consumers will have those guns in their hands in the first quarter for sure.
Very cool.
I'll be shipping them relatively soon.
Very cool.
Sweet.
Cool. Ross, I'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely, brother. Looking forward to it.
Yep. We'll have plenty to talk about probably before then. I'll call you.
5 days. Go vote. Go vote.
Casey, we'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, fellas. Y'all be good.
Rob, appreciate it, bro.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
We'll talk to you soon for sure. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Make sure you check out Keybar and L2D Combat as well. We'll talk to you next week. Peace.